I would agree. It's Friday! And to top things off, it's going to be a Pi Day Friday. Not because it has to be, but we got a Linux project, and I thought, let's do some of it at least on a Pi. So many on blog. All right. I'm intrigued by what you guys have going on, but I'm going to start things off the way I normally start. You know what? Let's start things off with an apology. I am so sorry. Officially, not an employee of anybody. So I work. I work for a lot of people, some with actual contracts and some with very ad hoc. And I work more. That's probably not true, but I work a lot. In my last company, I was the guy who was up and on the road when we were in the office between 5 and 5:30, and I would sometimes stay until 10. And I work on weekends, and I work, and I know all the pros and cons of that. And it is what it is. But I same thing now. Like nothing really changes just because somebody hasn't given me an employment contract. I work all the time, and sometimes some of it turns out to be a little on the prioritization schedule. It doesn't meet everybody's. I give me a choice. This would be priority number one ever and always, but you guys don't pay me for this. Nobody does. And there are people who do pay me to do things, so I have to do that. So at any rate, hey, here we are. It is Friday. It's becoming kind of a regular. This one of the side gigs that I do only does things on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So you can just always count on, it's Wednesday and I haven't gotten a call. What's going on? And then here comes the call. Yesterday, before I even get started here, I had a 1-day notice gig in a place that's about 4 hours away. Those of you who are in local Texas may know the name Kilgore. And I had to take up a small set of equipment, a projector, and some cables, and a slide advancer, and power cords, and things like that to this event. And so I did. To a place called the Country Tavern, which I didn't know, but it apparently is a place of some renown. So I got there, took about 4 hours to get up there, and I went in and looked around. Blues Brothers fans, go into Bob's Country Bunker. You've just gone into the Country Tavern. So, okay, and I'll finish the story. So I went in, I did my little bit of setup. Oh, I don't have to use my screen with my projector because they've got a big screen TV and they said we can use it. Okay, sometimes they don't include that in the contract. So cool. All I had to do was dangle the cable down because they were bringing their own laptop, hook up a power extension cord so they could plug their laptop into it and keep it going for a presentation. And I've got a little USB slide advancer, so I set that up. My work is done. Then part of the team turned up, and they're having computer troubles and connection troubles. I'm a nice guy. I'll make you a hotspot. I'll help you with your computer. And we get just so far, and we can't get any further than this because we need another person here with their account name and password. Okay, well, for the long haul, doesn't matter. And then that person showed up, and they had a laptop and an extension cable and their own slide advancer. So we pulled the other one offline. We plugged in all their stuff. I packed up my tents, and I got out of there 2 hours early, which got me home by 10 instead of by midnight, and that is very exciting. And I still get paid. So, all right. Yeah, I know. We got stuff to do. Fun stuff to do. So, it's Friday, it's 7 p.m. Central Time, and you have found your way to ADRAMADA, another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything Digital Alchemy. Come for the shirt, stay for the news and the projects. I am your host, the aforementioned Dave Rush, and you are therefore the proud ADRAMADA Armada. This is Friday, April 4th, and I would say unusual because we're always scheduled on Thursdays, but we've done a lot of Fridays in the last couple of months. we do have time for the fun stuff. And I want to see who's here. So before I even get into that, let's see who's to cooking. Tullowitt turns up half an hour early, unlike his usual 6-hour self. And Dave showed up somewhere about the same time. Patricia Grace turns up 2 minutes later. It does feel like it's been ages. I only missed one show a couple times, but not in a row. So yeah, I apologize for that. Jason's still on shift, okay? I thought he was doing the late shift. I thought he was on like midnight to 8. Whatever. He'll catch it. We can always see him online. And there he is. The true man, the true myth, the true legend. Scarheart himself. Hey, Scott, so great to see you here. Scott and I got into... I sent Scott an email about some stuff I've been working on, and he sent me back a quick. He says, that's amazing. I just started working on that, and it happens to be VLAN oriented, so I mentioned tonight's show, and he decided, out of the goodness of his heart, and out of my wallet, I did send him a check to turn up. You know, Scott, when people hear that you're a spectator and hopefully putting in information and stuff like that, the numbers are going to skyrocket. Oh, I don't want to see Dave talk, but I want to see Scott on the chat channel. You're on Bengal Spice. I'm doing some kind of orange spice right now. Just opened up a new one this week. What happened there? Oh, I super scrolled. Too long. And thank you. Nobody said, tea hot Earl Grey. You know, Picard never mixes it up, does he? Call me the same thing, everything, all the time, all the way. That's me. October 30th. Oh, okay. You came up with his birth date. It's in one of his first lines. Why, for 53 years I've eaten roast Whoville people. Whatever the line is. 101. I like it. Sauvignon Blanc. Oh my. Way to go, Trisha. Yes, we are live. Didn't even think of that. Friday, like old times. Should I interrupt this? No. I'm going to continue this. We have to talk about Friday. Jason, amongst us, took a lunch break just to join in. Thank you, Jason. Awesome, dude. We can do pop. Yes, it is a Diet Pepper. It is Diet Pepper Cherry. But we have raspberry in the fridge. Ooh, that is good stuff, Maynard. Yep, got a good break here. Glad you can make it. Got a few tickets that I wanted to pull my hair out on. Got through them. That's awesome. That is, you know, isn't it amazing to watch your own growth in these kinds of worlds? And you know, how long will it be before you pretty much everything you get? Yeah. I'm just training other people on this stuff now. Yes, it is Scott UC. Extra class with your teaching work. Didn't realize you sound lighting. Oh, goodness. Hey, if somebody will pay me to do something, I'll wallpaper. These corporate gigs, it's a mix. It's AV and IT, and oftentimes both. All right, kids, let's see what's happening in notes. The early start stuff. There's some interesting stuff. First of all, today is Friday, April 4th. It is noteworthy because on this date, in 1581, Francis Drake became Sir Francis Drake by Elizabeth I aboard his ship, the Golden Hind. So I didn't realize that. I thought that was kind of cool. Today, the first U.S. Congress began regular sessions, 1789, at Federal Hall in New York City, which ended in 1791. Just a 2-year run. Okay, everybody, are we singing? You got your YouTube out? Early morning, April 4, shot rings out. Okay, I won't sing the rest. My voice is gone. But yes, 1968, April 4th was a Sunday. We may recall it in this nation as Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Martin Luther King was assassinated on this date by James Earl Ray at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. And interestingly enough, 7 years later to the day, Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded a partnership and called it Microsoft to sell basic interpreters for the Altair 8800. And if anybody ever wants to gift me an 8800, I swear I have been in the market for 7, 8, 9 years now. I played with them way back, but I never wanted to own one. Never had the opportunity. But also, on this date in 1984, in the fictional novel 1984, Winston Smith started his secret diary. By the way, did you know 1984 was written in 1948? Or we'll just flip the year to come up with his what's happening in the future. Okay, what's this here? I put all my contact information and platforms that you can join me on at the beginning of the stint. Check that out if you're interested. If you're in the Ohio Valley and northeast of there, please take steps to stay safe. You guys have some rough weather today and upcoming next couple of days. We will keep you in our thoughts and prayers. Last show, 2 weeks ago, we started what was not intended to be a two-part series, but I didn't time it well, and so it became a two-part series. We did a very, very brief once-over on tagged and VLAN, tagged and untagged, VLAN operations inside a switch. We've done full shows on VLAN, so no need to get into that. And then I showed you something that we had never done, how to set up a tagged VLAN on a Windows system. Now we're going to extend that process and do tagged VLANs on a Linux system for our project today. In February, we did 4 episodes, I didn't miss any, on, I beg your pardon, on that thing that we did. My take on CIDR, classless interdomain routed, subnetting. It's a little different than a lot of takes, and like anything, we all get to the same finish line at about the same time. But I have never seen anybody present it the way I learned it. I was self-taught, and it's worked for me for many years, and I've taught it many times to other people and got oh wows, and lots of people said, why aren't you going to do a course? So I did a four-part presentation. It was just awful. I mean, content-wise, it was fine. Information-wise, it was fine. But my clicky keyboard, my squeaky chair, my occasional versions of those. Nonetheless, I pulled them all down off of YouTube as raw video, cleaned them up pretty well. There's a little bit of, but they're not bad. And I turned them into a 12-episode course, which is now on Udemy. It's not done. It's there. Don't anybody go there. Do not buy this course. I'll tell you why in a second. First of all, it's not done, because after I got it up, and man, I can't begin to tell you the obstacle course that you have to go through to put a first-time course up. There's scammers out there, so you've got to get your bona fides checked, your bona fides. And so many other steps and sub-steps, and oh, okay, you finally hit the big submit button that says you've been submitted. And then 2 days later, oh, there's a lot more steps you've got to go through besides submitting it before you can actually submit it. So that took about 5 or 6 days, but finally went up, hiccups and warts and all. And as I went over it and reviewed it and made some changes, I realized that for my background, this thing is missing something critical. End of chapter quizzes and a final at the end. So I spent the last 5 days or so writing questions for quizzes and the final. But I am 8 questions from done on that. Now I've got to go back and edit them. There's some that I know that need to be changed and whatever. That won't take long. There is a bulk uploader. You can take all your questions and just format them in a CSV file and go, and they all go up. A little work to format them, but it's not working. And I've got, I don't know, 100 and some odd questions, low hundreds. That's no big deal. I can copy paste them. The problem is for every question, you copy paste the question. You copy paste answer choice A. You copy paste explanation why A is right or wrong. Then B, B, C, C, D, D. If you got multi-select, E, E's. Thank goodness for the few true false that I've thrown in there. That's going to take me 2 or 3 days to do all that. Not looking forward to it. It's just menial copy, paste, copy, paste. When that's all done, about 2 weeks will have lapsed since it was officially blessed and went up online. At that point, I'm allowed to create coupons, including freebies. So, if any of my students from Indiana are watching right now, you're insane. It's halfway through spring break and it's Friday night. So you should not be watching right now. But you may catch the show later. And if not, I will tell this to you in class. And the same thing for anybody who is a viewer of this program, I will get freebie coupons for you. And you don't have to see it. You've already seen it. But if you just want another course under your belt and you can glide through, I tell you, as the course goes on, the quizzes do get tougher and tougher. You got to think. You got to have an understanding of this. But that was a lot of fun. Scammers. I got to talk about this. Where are we at? We're in great shape on time. So as soon as it goes up, I see 2 students enroll. Wow, I thought that's crazy because it's not a sale day. These Udemy sets the price on these things to insane values. It's about a 2-hour course, and for anybody to pay the list price that Udemy asks for has more money than sense. But who am I to gripe? And so they enrolled, and then they unenrolled, like within an hour. So I surmised that the reason was they went in, they wanted to see if any of the episodes are downloadable so that they can bootleg them. None of mine are downloadable. So I figured, okay, well, I got a handle on this. That's what they're doing. They're not succeeding. They're gone. Wrong. Certainly that's part of it. However, all they really want is to get in, see your contact information. You've got a course, and then mark it there. I will get students in seats for you for a fee. So it's just junk. And all over the place. I'm getting it on all the platforms I'm on. I'm getting it on emails. I'm getting it on Udemy contact. It's crazy. I still recommend everybody put a course up on Udemy someday. Or put it under my umbrella. If you do look for it, you can look under Dave Rush. You can also look under ADRAMADA. That's all of our course titles will start ADRAMADA : with the usual bad spelling, all A's. All right, upcoming shows. Here's a weird one. I reached out to one of the people I know at Rocky, at CIQ/Rocky Linux, yesterday with a question. Simple question. I just wanted to know something. And I got a response back that said I was very unclear on what I was asking. Okay. So I rewrote my question in my overly thorough manner. And they wrote back and said, I understand. And they corrected me on something that I was wrong about. Okay, great. And they said, yes, we will get somebody on your show to talk about it. Whoa. I was just asking a technical question here. Love to have you guys on, but that wasn't the nature of my request. But they're really proud of a couple of new of their offerings. I suspect, I haven't looked at this message yet, but I got a message from Greg Soul sometime this morning. I suspect he's going to be their spokesman. We've had Greg on the show in the past just to talk about Greg, an amazing man. And so to get him on and talk about a couple of their new offerings, it's very exciting. So I will be in touch with him over the next day or two and see where things stand. So that should be interesting. Okay, let's do. Actually, I see a lot of activity. I see some activity happening on the chat, and then we'll get in and do news of the week, and then get into project, and we're in great shape. Zoom. Okay, that wasn't too much. Gig sounds tedious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, anybody wants to volunteer and do some copy paste with me, I'll give you the keys to the kingdom and cut my time in half. Yeah, there should be a script. There is a script. All you got to do is feed it the CSV files, but it's not working. I know. It's painful. Okay. Good. Okay, well, let us look at news of the week. Transition that over there, put this over here, and news. Slide number 1. Amazon has been planning for quite some time to duke it out with Elon's Starlink. They will begin officially putting satellites up because apparently we don't have enough low Earth satellites completely encasing the planet. So they're going to put up, how many is their first launch? That was 27 satellites. So it's going to go up next week. The planned date is, oh, okay, no, there you go. Dateline was the 5th. Elon, Atlas 1. Wednesday, April 9th, says Amazon. Florida, noon Eastern. So it's going to be an Atlas 5 going out of Canaveral. So here we go. We're going to have another satellite internet service. There's an interesting thing about that, I think. The U.S. military put up our GPS system, and then it got commercialized, but it's interesting because the military controls it, and they can turn features on and off. They can reduce accuracy. They can turn it off altogether. There's an aviation term called scatana, where the government or military of the U.S. can, with a flick of a switch or with a phone call, turn off every navigational aid in the U.S. and in space. And there's a specific procedure. You got to know the term, and you got to know what to do in a scatana situation. Well, after GPS went up, Russia put up their own GPS system called GLONASS, and they're not compatible with one another. So they were made compatible with one another by companies that said, I'm going to make a GPS receiver that's got a GLONASS receiver in it and a GPS receiver, and I'm going to intermingle their data and get an even more accurate result than I would using either system separately. I wonder if we will see something similar come out of Starlink, and they're calling it Project Kuiper, like Kuiper Belts, Kuiper. Okay. I admit it. With shame. Yeah, I gotta get the finger. There it is. I fell for it. Hook, line, sinker, rod, reel, and copy of Angling Times. On April 2nd, I saw a brief article that Broadcom purchased Proxmox for $14 million. And I went ballistic. I posted stuff in important areas of the world, in technical worlds, and about 6 hours later, Greg Soul sent me a message, said, did you notice the date on that? Oh my gosh! I didn't even think anything about April 1st this year. Didn't do any of my own pranks, didn't put any thought into it. So I had to pull it back. I had to do mea culpas. I'm doing my other mea culpa right here. There was no purchase or merger of any kind between Broadcom and Proxmox. If there had, I'd be in prison somewhere. What else? Okay, I didn't write this one. I read this one. I'm just going to do this one from what I read and what I learned. This is fascinating to me. Oh, not that one. Oh, did I lose my other slide? That's Raggedy Schmatz, no slide. That was a phrase my father used to use when he was trying to not swear. He wasn't successful very often, but when he did, Raggedy Schmatz was pretty cool. You know what lichen are? L-I-C-H-E-N. It's a combination fungus and algae. Lives everywhere. Lives in the Antarctic. Lives in the Arctic. Lives in the Amazon tropical rainforest. Everywhere. It has been the dream of science fiction writers that this would be the weapon of choice if terraforming on a planet with some kind of atmosphere. Doesn't have to be nitrogen, oxygen, but that was what they figured. They were going to start planting, and it can take centuries, it can take thousands of years, but, well, that, of course, is drifted into mainstream science, and mainstream science says, yeah, we recognize why the sci-fi writers believe this. They got it from us. We got it back from them. And so the first successful experiment on growing lichen on Mars happened. It was a simulation. They had to make a simulated Mars. But this is the best simulation that I've ever seen them do. 95% carbon dioxide atmosphere, which is right. They bombarded it with the same degree of X-rays that Mars gets because they don't have a magnetosphere and all the other goodies, and the stuff is growing just fine. The temperature is freaking cold on Mars. Okay, we're talking minus 100. It doesn't grow fast at minus 100. But Mars gets, excuse me. Yes, there is a slide for that on my development computer. Where can I tell you to get? Just look it up. Lichen on Mars. And if you add the word hellscape, one word, you will probably find the same article that I got. It's very good. Lichen, Mars, and hellscape. So I found that just to be utterly fascinating. Really love that one. Okay, I don't have any more slides until we get to this. What else do we got here? In Linux news, there's a new Linux Steam client, speeds up. Yeah, have you noticed that? If you're a Steam user, every time you boot up your computer, your Steam client updates. Like an hour ago, you booted your computer and updated. So you just rebooted it and it updates again? Yeah. Well, the same thing happens in Linux. And I counted mine today. It took 20 seconds for my Windows one to update. It takes about 30 seconds for my Linux one. I haven't tested the new one on Linux to see how much faster, but it's reported to be, yes, it was in the debrief. Thanks, Scott. So, that's all we need for that. And then that was my last one with slides. My no slide show on the 8th. Today's the 4th. So 4 days from now. I beg your pardon. I inhaled some soda there. A Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft will launch from, I presume, Baikonur, Star City, with NASA astronaut Johnny Kim and 2 cosmonauts for an 8-month stay on the ISS. I'm guessing Butch and Suni are just left. 8 months? I could do that standing on my hair. All right, that takes care of that. Next thing is going to be the project. Let me go check and see messages and all that good stuff. Transition you back. Set you up. Yeah, why not? We'll do that. Okay. Sorry, I need a director, I need a producer. Have all these things kind of set up and I can just do this. All right, that's set. That's set. That's set. Let's see what you guys are yakking about. Yes, it does sound tedious because it's going to be. I was distracted getting dinner on, didn't hear it all. Okay, thanks. Yeah, oh, I totally got April Fool. Man, I'm explaining the impact of this merger to my missus who couldn't care less. Wrote a nice little article for LinkedIn, and I put one up on Discord, and I stopped there because I wanted to do others, but I had other things to do, and then Greg pointed out what an idiot I was. Husband was upset about Home Depot charging for parking. What? What? Tell husband to take the tools he got from Home Depot and disassemble one of their charging systems. That's unbelievable. Wow. Ugh. I do a lot of these gigs in downtown areas, downtown Fort Worth, downtown Dallas, Austin. A lot of them are outskirts, even on the outskirts. Except for this Bob's Country Bunker I was at yesterday, they're all high-end, some specialty restaurants, and they all have valet parking. And sometimes I wear show blacks and Uncle Hat, and I look like labor, and hey, I'm bringing stuff in. Can I park here for a little while? How long's a little while? 3 hours? But some of them don't charge me valet, and some of them is like, sorry, rules are no exception. Get your money out, buddy. So I do. All right, well, let us entertain you. What I want to do here is, as I said, last time we got together 2 weeks ago, we did a speedy overview on tagged and untagged VLAN operations inside a managed switch. Excuse me. And then we got into how to set up tagging on your Windows system. Today's goal is to do that same project on a Linux system. There's some noteworthy differences. Let's call them pros and cons. So we're going to dive right in here and look at pros and cons on Windows. First of all, to do the job, you use Device Manager. And whether or not you're going to be able to pull it off is a function of the network interface card, the driver that you're using, and the version of operating system you're using, the edition and the version. So we did our first demonstration last week and said, oh, we can't add a VLAN tag to the network interface card that I had chosen. I had tested that, of course, and I set up another card that I could use, and we were able to do our demonstration. Cool. My guess is that I could have done it on that first network interface card. The problem is I can't use the Microsoft provided driver, and I think that's really what it comes down to. So if I get the configuration utility from the manufacturer of the NIC that I was working with, I could very well put that in. So, okay, it's maybe you can, maybe you can't, maybe you can get the utility. Item next, if you use Microsoft's methodology, Device Manager, you can only put one VLAN tag into an Ethernet frame. Using a third-party utility or some other technology, I'm going to show you something here, we may be able to do multiples. So, cool. Okay, one tag said, manufacturer's configuration support. Cool, that's Windows. In Linux, many Linux distros, and I don't have a feel for most, some, just a few, whatever it is, they don't natively support VLAN tagging in their hosts. But the good news, so that's a con. The good news, our pro, is there's a standard utility that works on all Linux distros, and you install that as a package, takes 20-25 seconds or so, and bam, you can now use the Linux drivers. They all support it. Most network interface cards, I'm saying most because I haven't heard of any that this doesn't work with, but there's obviously always some exception out there. And so once you learn this one utility on one flavor of Linux, you can do it on any and all flavors of Linux. Also, it natively supports multiple VLAN tags. Is there a con? Yes, there is one con. I was learning to do this a couple of weeks ago, and I set it up, and it went like a dream. And then I said, now I'm going to unset it so I can demonstrate it from scratch when I do the next show. Well, 3 hours later, I had it unset. It is not an intuitive thing to do successfully, and I wound up having to get some third-party script and utilities that somebody wrote and put on GitHub and made it available to the world. And even then, getting rid of it, it hangs. Because you can either use this utility to set up a VLAN, and then it very happily will unset it up. But I use the Linux standard package to set up VLANs, and this thing doesn't like to undo those. It's successful, but it locks up, and it locks up everything. The only way that I was able to get out was to unpower the Linux box that I was testing on, bring it back up, and then I went in and looked, and oh look, it's all gone. So it's not a joy. And I'll show you the link to that if you are so interested. All right, so I'm going to do this on a Raspberry Pi. And let's do. I'm going to speed through the slides that I did last week right quick. See if there's anything useful and interesting here. So what we see on these two slides is nothing that has to do directly with VLANs. Sorry, I can't speak today. This is a slide that I use as a baseline discussion for encapsulation and decapsulation or unencapsulation. Both phrases get used a lot. But what I want you to see here is the little orange tag down on the bottom, the type field. The type field, under normal circumstances, when we're not playing with VLANs, has one value in it, and it's almost always 0800. That's super secret Ethernet code that means if this frame gets received and it passes muster, it's not corrupt, it's not too small, it's not too big, then take the payload, everything from the pink through the left-hand blue, and pass it up to network layer process 0800, which is IP. Now, let's look at this next slide. Sorry, it's so small on my screen, I can't see that. But we're going to add some information in here. This is a slide that's turned around backward from what you just saw earlier. And notice the orange one here, we have added to the left of it, which would be in front of it, a VLAN tag field. So this is something you do at a host or at any other kind of computer that can generate an Ethernet frame. And we're going to say when you get into the switch, these are the VLAN IDs that you're going to be able to function with, talk to other people. Do I want to do this whole slide again? This was an untagged VLAN. This says I am simply going to assign some ports. For instance, on the upper left, 1 through 4 is all going to be on VLAN 00. And ports 5 through 8 are all going to be on VLAN 01. So I don't have to do anything to the host computers. If I want something to be on VLAN 00, I plug it into port 1, 2, 3, or 4. And it can communicate with anybody on 1, 2, 3, or 4. But it can't communicate with anybody who's on a different VLAN. So anybody on 1, 2, 3, or 4 can't communicate with anybody or anything on 5, 6, 7, 8 because those are all internally tagged, but that means they're untagged as VLAN 01. This is a tagged VLAN system. What I've done is I went inside the switch and I told it there exists a couple of VLANs. One called 01, one called 02, maybe some more of them. And then I go back to each computer and I say, hey computer, you are a VLAN 1 device. Okay, you're going to be tagged with your Ethernet card when you make frames, and it's always going to say 01. And hey computer, you're going to be a VLAN 02, and so forth. So when they get into the switch, The switch looks at them and says, ah, I see you are a VLAN 01 device. I will forward your frames only to people who are connected who are also tagged with VLAN 01. If you try to talk to somebody whose tag is VLAN 02, I'm not going to forward that frame. So that's how VLAN tag or tag VLANs work. Same stuff gets repeated. Here is a frame with multiple VLAN tags. Each of them is 4 bytes, and in another slide, I break down all of those bytes. There's a lot going on in them, but this guy might be allowed to participate on VLAN 10 and VLAN 30 and VLAN 90. There's no limit to how many VLANs we can approve him for, we can tag him with. That starts to get fun. All right, same slide, illustrating what we just saw. Buzz, buzz, grind, grind. Okay, done with slides. No, I don't want to transition. I want to do this. Okay, back to me. And now I'm going to set up a little putty session here real quick. Bump. Password is raspberry, RASPBERRY. Bam. Okay. Put that in pre-show. Good. Everything is happening just the way it's supposed to. You guys got anything going on? Joey Quetzel is here. Joey, my friend, good to see you back, buddy. Posted, here we go. Looks like I may have to go back and review it again in the archives. Is untagged VLAN the same as those on the default VLAN? Unconfigured. Right. You know, we get deep into the weeds on that one, Joey, but an untagged VLAN is, in fact, an internally tagged VLAN with a number. 0001 are the 2 common ones, and they are all assigned that same VLAN value to every port in the switch. So that is both the default VLAN, and because all the ports get internally tagged, they are untagged, but the reality is, once they get in there, they carry around the default VLAN tag with them until they exit the switch environment. And I don't think I got into that great a detail when we did the VLAN thing. Somebody started to look at the earlier presentation of this week who's seen the Udemy show and said, oh my God, you have to do a VLAN show. And I think that's probably going to be the next one that I do. We'll do a full featured 5-hour probably presentation, everything there is to know about VLANs. I think we could have a lot of fun with that. What are we doing here? Go over here. All right, so let me get you onto my login here. Transition over there. I'm going to use this and this, which you can't see, but that's okay. So I'm logged into a Raspberry Pi right now, and I'm going to, which is this one? It's Fireplace. And let's take a look at a couple of the critical things here. We're going to start, I'll do a clear here, and I'm going to say IPA. Wow, that's a little involved, so I can expand that a little bit. So the very first entry up on top says 1: is low. That means local. That means it's a virtual network interface card with the IP address of 127.001 WAC 8. Well, you know, whenever you send a message to 127.001, it doesn't leave your computer. It stays inside the IP software stack. Well, this is how it stays inside. We make a virtual NIC. Now we look at number 2. 2: this is its name, ETH0, and most network operating systems, most Linux operating systems will allow you to have what they'll call a real name or a primary name, and you can have an alternate name. I did not set up alternates on here. I'll show you alternates, time permitting, when we get done. So that's my wired Ethernet card, and it is hooked up. That's what I'm using right now. And then we further head on down the road, and for number 3, we see WLAN, wireless LAN 0. That is its Wi-Fi NIC. He's got a MAC address here. He's got an IP address. And then there's some summary information, but that's everything. What we don't have is anything that has to do with VLANs in there. Okay, did that. IP. Yeah, no VLAN information. Let's prove that. Let's say IPA, and then we're going to pipe that through grep and look for any instances of the term VLAN. Nothing popped up. All right, let's try it again then. Something else. Sometimes VLAN will turn up, sometimes some other terms. I want to see iNet. Oh, there we go. I got, what do we got? About 8 lines here from all of what we just saw earlier when we did IPA that has iNet information. So here's my local, my first NIC. It's got an IPv4 address of 120.001 WAC 8 and an IPv6 address of ::1. That is the local loopback interface in IPv6. And here's his regular IP address on his wired NIC. Here's his regular IPv6. You get the idea. But I don't see on any of these lines anything that refers to something that would look like VLAN information. And that's a good thing because there is no VLAN configuration going on in here. If there was, there would be a file in a folder. Let's take a look at that folder. I'm going to ls, list stuff, show me the contents of a folder called whack etc, whack network, whack interfaces.d. There's nothing in there. It's empty. Okay, so there's another telling clue that there's no VLAN configuration going on in here. So we got to make it happen. I'm going to install the VLAN package. Sudo apt install VLAN. And he checks the system out. It's been installed here before, so he didn't stop and say, hey, if I install this, I'm going to install, it's going to take up 45K of space. Are you willing to accept that? And do you really want to continue? Yes, 45K, I think I can live with that. And so the first time you install it, it's going to take 45 seconds, and whoosh, it's done. Sorry, 20 to 25 seconds. 42K is my notes. All right, let's see if anything has changed. Let's do another IPA grep for VLAN. Grep means filter out anything except lines that has this line in there. Stop it. PA. I think I just tried to create an IPA. Little beer drinking. Okay, nothing's changed, it looks like. How about if we grep for iNet? Those are all the same. What if we go look for that file again? See if a new file got created here. Well, ls on etc network interfaces.d, still empty. Well, that's because we've installed the package, but we haven't configured anything yet. So this is the universal thing. Okay, you install this VLAN package on Ubuntu, on Raspberry Pi OS, on Rocky, on Red Hat and Fedora and Mint, and now you have universal support. They all work the same, they all look the same, they all act the same, they keep files in the same places. So now all we got to do is configure it. And we're going to do that. I'll copy and paste the command, make things happen a little more quickly here. We're going to edit, using sudo nano, a file that needs to be in that folder. And I'm going to put 3 lines in that folder. And the third line has to be indented at least 1 space. So I put in this first 2 lines, auto WLAN 90. I'm going to work with the wireless network. I don't want to work with the wired network and have a chance that I'll break the connection with this because I haven't set up my switch to support VLANs yet. But what this is going to do is it's going to, this and the next line together, are going to create a virtual network interface card and bind it to a real network interface card, WLAN 0. And it's going to apply a VLAN ID of 90 to it. This is the bind up process. Take the VLAN that I just made and bind it to raw device WLAN 0. All right, we're going to save that file. Control X. Yes. Enter. Let's go see if it's there. LS. Hey, there it is. And we don't have to put any particular flags on it or anything like that. Now, here's one of the really cool things you could do with this. I could go add another 3 lines and set up another VLAN. I'll do these same 3 lines and I'll add, change 90 to 80. And do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And do it on my ETH 0. So the critical thing to know is which VLANs do you want to tag a particular network interface card, and you need to know the alternate or the actual name of the device you're working with. All right, we know that. We're halfway home. What did I talk about that? Doesn't matter. Okay. We did multiple VLANs. Now, just because that file's there doesn't mean it works. We have to cause the networking subsystem in Linux to read that file and apply those values. And there are 3 or 4 ways to do it. I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to do all of them because some of them would actually kill my connection and I couldn't get it back without hooking up a screen and keyboard. But I could say sudo interface down WLAN 0. And that would turn off my wireless network interface card. And then I would be roached. I lose my, if I were wirelessly connected. Then I would bring it back up with, instead of sudo if down, sudo if up. So that works great when you're not doing an SSH connection online and you've got a screen and keyboard hooked up. Another way to do it would be sudo reboot, which would take 1 minute to start the reboot process. And then, of course, I would lose connection, and I'd wait, and I'd wait, and I'd wait, and I'd wait, and then eventually it would come back, excuse me, and I would be able to re-SSH to it, and the new features would work. If I don't want to wait 1 minute when I do a reboot, I can add -F to force it. But again, I don't want to actually reboot my Pi right now. I just want to reset networking. And the quickest, easiest way to do that, this happens so quick that I probably will not lose my SSH connection. There's no guarantee on that. And if we do, it'll be back in a minute. So I'm going to say sudo system control. By the way, everybody gripes at me in the Linux world. They tell me that novices call it sudo. It's sudo. Fine. So we're going to use system control, and I'm going to restart the networking subsystem. This happens really quick. This is the same thing as doing an IF down and an IF up, and it's really quick, and it's really convenient, and it has read that file and applied the contents of that file. So let's see if that's true. How about a straight IPA? Whoa! A lot more information there. Filled up my screen. Let's see if I can get this to zoom out a little bit. So up here, there's my loopback, my local. Here's my Ethernet 0 on 2:. Here's my WLAN 0 on 3:. And whoa, down here, another WLAN 0, .90. That tells me its VLAN ID is 90. And notice down here, he didn't get a call from, or a response from a DHCP server. I didn't set up a static IP address, so he's got an APIPA address. I would have to put my DHCP server on VLAN 90 I'd have to configure the switch to support VLAN 90, and then he could get an IP address. Is that freaking cool? Because, yes, that is freaking cool. So now if I want to make changes, here's the problem. You go back and you edit this file, and you change this to 80. Well, you know what? 90 doesn't go away. It stays there, and you get another new virtual interface with 80. So that is the pain in the rear I was talking about at the beginning of this game. If you want to get rid of something, it's not a marvelously clean process. And I just had to search for hours thinking it should be a simple command. If you uninstall the VLAN package, they don't go away. So you've got to use this handy-dandy little utility. Let me do one other thing with you here. We're just about done. And I want to share two things with you and then get back on ahead. Let's do another IPA and just find the lines that have 90 in it. There we go. I got 3 lines with 90. That first line, that's just part of an IPv6 address, so no value to me. But here we go. 4:WLAN 0.90. So there's my tagged VLAN. And down here on the internet, duplicate information. Same stuff. VLAN 0.90. Now, what if we do this for other distros? How much time have I got? It's 27 degrees Celsius, and I got 3 minutes. Bear with me for 5 minutes, because I want to show you just one other thing here that's fun and practical. Let me fire up PuTTY, and I'm going to hit a Linux box. What is that? NUC 10 i5fnh.local. Okay, password is that. All right, have you seen anything? Okay, good. So I'm logged into a Linux box now. And the only thing that I want to show you here is the output of IPA. So here's my 1 and local. And look at my 2. My 2 says they have this little different naming convention than a lot of other operating systems. Their main name for the first wired Ethernet is Ethernet number 1. And their alternate name, this is the primary name in a lot of their other operating systems, is Ethernet position 0, and then this S31 and F6 each has important meaning to it. So before you start playing with VLANs and that VLAN package, you've got to run an IPA or some other IP flavor and get the name of the interface that you're going to be working with. All right, let's come back to me. There we are. We are back to me. Anything else really critical that I want to do here? Oh, yeah. So if you decide to recreate this, it will be very helpful for you to go to the link that I've just posted in the chat. It's on GitHub. And download. There will be a download in the upper right-hand corner of GitHub. Download that. Or in fact, what the thing to do, you can either git clone this address or download it, and then you've got to run this little script in there. It's all self-explained in the README file that's on the GitHub, and that will help you undo the damage that you do experimenting with that. Okay, guys, that is the show for this week. I don't know what next week's show is going to be. I do already know that it's going to be on a Friday. I have 3 jobs next week. They told me you're going to be working on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday, I'm in a place called Rockdale, which looks to be about an hour east of Austin. Wednesday, I've actually already done the Wednesday job. They need one little piece of equipment that's this big. So I mailed it. I've done it before with these guys. It's in the manager's office. They'll go in, they'll pick it up, and it has a return envelope, and they will drop it in the envelope and send it home to me. And then the Thursday job, he said, well, I'll send you the information on that. So I have a Thursday job. Sometime, somewhere, I don't know. I'm still on spring break, so I'm not worried about the time. But There we go. Okay, fun upcoming shows. We got a Rocky show coming up. We've got some other goodies. Let us wind things up as we ever and always do. Oh, I guess I need one final thing, right? Got to see if anybody else had anything to say before we wound this thing up. Review, untags. Wonder where the data is stored. It's in about 5 places, Scott, and I've gone to all of them, and 2 of them you can't get rid of. You can if you keep the kernel in memory and umount, which is unmount, but they call it umount in Linux, the disk or the partition that it's on, then you can get in there and manually pluck them out. Blah! What a royal pain. So yeah, the tool for clearing stuff. Thanks, glad you guys did it. All right, now we're going to wind things up. I will see you next Friday. I wish you all a great rest of the week. Take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy, and if at all possible, call or visit your parents. And of course, never forget, technology is great, but you are the greatest resource we have. And with that, I bid you good night. I'll see you on ADRAMADA next Friday, the other platforms that I'm on. Until then, remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. Eat up or ah.